Okay, it's Sunday,
Oh,
March 16th. Adam and Ryan have very exciting news to report about
We
an estate sale.
we don't, but
I'm yanking your chain. One of
okay.
the one of the other Albuquerque user group members went to an estate sale that was what, next door, Adam? You said?
Ask Ryan. He understands where it was
Okay.
better. Yeah.
Went to an estate sale that was next door and raked in a bunch of QLs. And now the question is, who who was the mystery owner of the QLs? We'll probably find out in the not too distant future. um, anyway, uh, Ryan, Adam Vollen told you. Uh,
what?
Adam Vollen told you to talk about that basic thing that you posted to the list the other day. Are
Oh,
you
the ZX Basicus. Is that
Yeah,
what?
is that a thing that you could
Well, well, it itself I have not explored that much, but it's a program that has, I think, yeah, it's cross-platform. I There was a Linux binary there too, and it worked. It executes Sinclair Basic, the Spectrum variety, um, at at machine speed, I'm not exactly sure, but um,
okay.
it's I don't know if it's terribly efficient, but it's going to be fast. Or um, and it came with some sample games that were written, I guess, in some of these contests that that community has, and there was just like the one. It was kind of a fun game, and so I managed to pull it out in its own basic file and then run ZMake. I had to do some translation because it has its own syntax for its basic,
I'm going to put it on the screen. I found the
for the
website.
graphics characters and such. And I translated it and got it into a tap file that I could just pull into regular emulator or machine.
Is this
Um,
Ryan? Is this the page you're talking about?
yep.
Okay, cool, cool.
And so it was kind of interesting because I keep searching for these. There supposedly were others, but you can't find them anymore. It seems like they're,
Well, when you say these, what do you mean?
well, which was basically this.
Some sort of
Um, it interprets Sinclair. You can just use it to run Sinclair Basic. Although this is it's like almost an emulator in the sense it's emulating Sinclair Basic,
hmm
but it will not. It's not emulating the machine, so you don't. It emulates a few of the system variables, so you can do a few things that are common. Um, but you can't like run machine code and run any old program on it.
Hmm.
But you can write. The problem is what it seems to lack, unless there's some magic switch, is I can't find that you can just jump into the command line and start coding. I think you have to make a basic program and then run it through it.
Okay.
Oh, like a
Maybe there's
text file,
some,
you mean?
yeah. So I think there's some way to. Well, I think it'll load taps,
Yeah, it says right here.
um,
Here we go.
and it actually will convert taps TZX and has a bunch of other things like that.
Yeah. What a
So
strange
it's
program.
and you may have to try to download it. I had to like I think right click download the link. At least in my browser was giving me trouble to download it, but yeah, it's got a lot of interesting stuff, and so I kind of had been interested in things that I don't know if this is the one. Or it'll do like code optimization. It's kind of I haven't even looked at that yet.
Wow.
He's demoing it. It simplifies your code, I guess, to tighten it up to make it smaller, so you can squeeze more
That'd be
code in
good to
memory.
enter the 10-line contest that they have every year. It's like,
Yeah, so it's kind of cool in that sense. But yeah, all I got, I just kind of had a glance and then came across one of the demo games, which I thought was kind of fun. And so I just got off on a sidetrack of getting it translated over so that you could use it on a regular machine.
Yeah.
Um, because I didn't find a lot of documentation about their basic format, so I just would take one and have it dump the basic out and kind of have a look, and figured out, okay, its method for literal code, character codes, and then the graphics, which I think are mostly similar to ZMake Base, but the literal character codes were different. So I just did a little translation on that, and then was able to ZMake Base on it. And so that was what was the name of that thing? It was
The
Dead End, I think was the name of that. And now I got to try to find that.
Interesting. And somewhere, I wonder where this Juan Antonio is. He's in Spain.
It was Spanish. I had to So then I was on a sidetrack of translating the Spanish of the source code because I didn't need to, but that was a fun thing to do.
Cool.
Wait, so you translated the manual?
No, not the manual. Just this one game.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And now I can't find where I stuck the thing.
Huh. How bizarre.
Where did I put it?
I mean, this strikes me as very much a case of this person had an itch, a problem that they wanted to solve, and this is the tool that they built to solve it. And it might happen to work for you too. Crazy. Okay.
Well, I very much like the idea of it.
Here we go. Oh, I can't find the. Oh, I think it.
This looks like
I gotta find out where I even put this darn folder. I got so many.
All right, let me scroll.
Things. Okay.
This is for Windows, right? It looks like it's for Windows. Do you have any idea, Ryan?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Windows. Is it for Windows?
He has executables for, I think, Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Oh, really?
Linux one for sure.
Okay. All right.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, maybe there's not a Mac one. I thought there was. I'm thinking of something else.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a Win64 version. There's a Linux version, but it's Intel. But on my Raspberry Pi, I've got the Box 64, so it translates it.
Okay.
So I can run that.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I guess.
And you finished some updates, made some more updates to your font?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess Tim's not. Is Tim here? No.
No, not yet.
Yeah. So when was that even? It was like the end of last year, maybe October, probably. I had this idea of making we had was it Tim had done something with taking a Sinclair font and extending it fixing it with the Timex version of the characters, which I guess were all of the W and the M.
Yeah.
And so.
When he added or mapped.
Oh, and he added the block graphic characters in there too. And I had the thought of like, oh, I'd always wanted to. I'd seen that one before, and I'd always wanted to have one that was sort of like not blocky for like a more regular use. I guess a lot of these are intended for like, hey, if you're going to make an emulator, having a font that looks like the pixelated font can be a handy thing if you're not emulating the graphics or something like that. But I had this thought of like, yeah, what would that font look like, if you just sort of rounded off the corners and stuff. And I had to go at it, and I think I showed a peek, but I was having trouble with it, and so I didn't put it out there yet. And then meanwhile, Tim went off and did one as well. And then I was like, oh, dang it. And so I went back at the, I was using Font Forge instead of the, what's it online? The construct that you gave me a pointer to. And I just hadn't learned all of the, well, I still don't know very much, but how it worked. And so basically it was kind of like, well, one, I had, of course, didn't define the space. And so I thought there was some sort of other trouble with trying to do a monospace font. And I had neglected the copyright and the pound sign. Because I got so caught up in trying to get the ampersand to work, because it's basically impossible.
Wait, what makes you say that?
Well, if you tried it, well, if you try to you follow the rule, so I kind of made up some geometry rules to follow.
Good for you.
And
who doesn't do that every day?
Have some consistency in the look and feel, because that's what that's what you do with a font. But you have to you say, okay, we're going to do these patterns. Here's the rules, and you can break a few. You just gotta have something general, or it'll just kind of feel wonky. And so if you look at the ampersand, the way it's done, of course, it's using the fact that it's 8 by 8 pixels to kind of cheat a little bit. Well, you could say, well, it's just you do what you can. It's not cheating. Well, it's like, yeah, but if you try to apply the rule that, okay, that literal 45-degree diagonal is literally 45-degree diagonal, and it's because one of the rules I had was like the strokes are 1 pixel. So if it's a diagonal, it's sort of, the side, the vertical horizontal are square root of 2 over 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I can show, show an example here. Where's the thingamajig? Is that coming through?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, so, hang on. Yeah, it's going to pop up multiple windows. Let me just.
I see your ampersand.
Let me minimize all these.
So I'm looking at the question mark. Is that really how it looks on our Timex? Like, if I look at it, like it looks a little.
Well, hold on. Let me. Dang, I got a lot of windows open.
Well, we're only seeing the one with the.
I know.
Okay.
I'm just trying to clean up here. And...
yeah, these and these aren't Timex fonts. What you're seeing there.
No, this is Ryan's.
Oh, I know that.
Right.
Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying is the question mark it's supposed to be based on the question mark of the Timex font, right?
I'm going to reshare the screen and get rid of this window. Okay. That way I can pop up other windows.
Ah, good idea. Oh, cool.
Wow.
And so let me pop open. Oh, I moved it. Of course I did. Well, we'll just do this one.
So how much time do you have invested in this?
Oh, cool. It's not about that.
Of course. Yeah.
So here's that.
My wife is listening.
He says that while it's still not done.
So here's the Spectrum one. Oops.
Where's the question?
Gotta go up.
Oh, the question mark is not.
There we are.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, the ampersand is really.
I'm going to copy that, and then I can paste it over this so you can kind of see. Nope. Select window. Paste.
Oh, look at that.
So I'm trying to stay as close as possible, but here, we'll just blow this one up. So
yeah.
Well, it's hard because of the way the
yeah.
the way the outline thing works, you don't see all the pixels here, but there's basically, these diagonal pixels, my rule was to go basically have a line that a straight diagonal line through here, but now you got to magically curve.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally this bottom is kind of some sort of curves potentially, but, and then it's going to go up at a 45 and this comes down at a 45. Well, when you try to actually draw that, you got to wave your hands a lot. and so this is what I'd come up with. And so we can kind of see that dropped on there. It's shifted a bit to make it work. Plus other rules like, you know, okay, what am I going to do on these ends here? You know, so you do like, do these come up and have a vertical cut? Do they come up and have a horizontal cut? Do you have a corner? You got to make choices. And I probably still have a couple of the variations here, like you can see here, how you do the ends, trying different ways to see what feels right.
Oh, wow.
That's really
So
cool.
like I'm looking at the X there. You have like
Yeah.
what, 4 examples of it or something,
Because
and a
you're up,
couple of
you
the
know,
Y, 3 of them.
you're
Yeah.
upscaling, so you got to say, well, okay, what's it? So basically, it's trying to. So I tried to imagine what was the font that was downsampled to get what we got. Is kind of the idea.
Huh.
As just sort of a guide.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I, as Tim pointed out, he took some liberties.
It seems like you have to, like, there's no way around it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And there's, well, the asterisk is another one that's difficult to say, well, what would work that still has kind of the feel?
Yeah, because I've
I don't
never
know
really
if I
looked too closely at
I've got some variants of that too, and it's some will appeal to others,
It looks like you have a variant on the ampersand.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know why that one's still here. That's pretty terrible.
I totally agree.
Well, I think that's
awful.
the one that lines up with the pixels more, but
Oh,
of
okay.
course it looks like some sort of drafting tool.
So what is the actual what's the spectrum question mark look like? I'm curious about Adam's question.
All
right. So yeah, it really is like a weird 7.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So to do that, I think we forget sometimes when you just haven't looked at those pixels in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of tried to keep a little bit of quirkiness of how sharp that was.
Mm-hmm.
And then come down again at a 45-degree angle if I could. And so so basically those angles, then I'm like trying to keep that pixel, but I can break that to go into this angle that comes in. And so that after you do some of the characters, you kind of get a feel for what you could do. Let me see if I could pick a good example of that. Well, the 7s maybe kind of an example there.
If you look at the spectrum 7, it's very close to the question mark.
This is true.
I mean, both right. I mean, you have them both in the same frame now, so it's easy to.
Did you just notice that just now, or you happen to know that off the top of your head?
No, I just noticed it when he was scrolling through earlier. I was like, oh, yeah.
So a really odd one. So there are some things, might be slightly a little bit of a amateur font nerd, of course.
Is this a software open source? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit crashy sometimes at least on the Raspberry Pi. I don't know about others. So take, for example, the 0 here. Okay. If you really followed my rules, I guess we'll bring up the capital O as a look here. So if I go here, well, let's see, is it? Yeah, I guess technically, if I just took a capital O, not that the 0 has to be the same shape because that's often what's different, but not in our font here. Has the same general shape. If you really follow my inner curve rules, there should be a curve starting right here, just before the slash.
Yeah.
But a lot of font one of the things with the font that some will do is you get like an intersection like this, and it looks a little thick here. And so, especially when that gets reduced down in size, that can give you this illusion of part of it being not the right size. And so you'll see fonts where when something comes in like this, they've carved out part of it somewhere to thin it out. Back in the day, that was sometimes to keep, I think, like keep the ink from pooling up too much in some place. I don't remember exactly, but
You mean like on printers?
yeah, like when they actually print it. But it's also a little visual thing. It can look
Right.
it can look thick. So I just left out starting that curve, which would have been complicated to figure out anyway, so that it's not too thick there. And just there's small things like that you kind of learn. And so, but otherwise, it lines up with O. And that was kind of the general thing, is this coming up with this general outline shape. How curvy should that be? And I kind of went pretty curvy. So let's look at the capital O and then go grab that guy.
So I have a question for Tim. Tim, is this a kind of the process you went through as well? Like,
I don't think Tim's.
is he not?
Unless he came on.
Oh, he's not. Oh, Tim Horton did it. That's right. It wasn't Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we see the pixels, and you can kind of see what I decided to do for these curves.
Whatever you do, don't change things and then save it.
And so basically it was that, okay, of course it looks really square if you just curve from this point to this point. But I thought, yeah, but if you did that, then that means if you tried to basically pixelate that font, that would mean this pixel would be mostly filled anyway. So I wanted to have it say, well, it's not filled, so it needs to be less than halfway filled, which it just barely is. And then this one can have a little bit, but it won't fill up this pixel if you downsample this, unless you anti-aliased it. But so that it fit within the pixels, trying to honor that as if you downsampled this font, basically. And then you, of course, plus, like, you kind of start with the A, and I do not know why these rectangles show up here yet. I still don't know how this software works that well.
Looks like you kind of know it pretty well. But
What software
So
is this? I'm just curious.
Font Forge.
Font Forge. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's not saying that.
Yeah, I don't see it on the
It had a splash screen,
title
and then
bar.
it went away.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh wow.
so this, many of you will know this more than I, because I don't know anything about the history of the Mac. But like when they were designing the Macintosh and the Lisa, like how are they designing the font? I mean, the fonts were. How was that done? Is it done in the same kind of manner, or is it totally different? Is it more like the Timex would have been done, like the character sets, like when they would change the size of them?
Well,
I don't really know exactly, but I think a lot of it was still pixels by hand, at least for the display font, because your screens weren't very high res and you didn't have anti-aliasing. And for many years, even TrueType fonts and stuff would have hinting such that at certain sizes it would just have it would basically, from what I understand, tell it, here's the pixels to use, and maybe even has a facility for like a built-in raster font at certain sizes. Because a lot of times people have different preferences, like a lot of coders, they like their crispy pixels.
Yeah.
They don't like anti-aliasing.
Yeah, I got a new monitor recently, and the resolution of it is different from the old one, and it took me weeks to get used to like I'm using the same, but the font doesn't look the same, even though it's the same size and everything, because of I use a lower resolution than most people do, and a high refresh rate, so hopefully not to cause my seizures.
So Adam,
Yeah.
according to the Wikipedia's,
Yeah.
fonts for Mac OS versions 1 through 9 were bitmap fonts.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the outline fonts were, it worked with them, but it would send them to devices that could utilize them. But the screen was bitmap fonts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they had bitmap fonts that represented, you know, the various outline fonts. So when I did the A, you know, and I first had these tighter curves, it just didn't look right for some reason. And that's how I came to these more rounded edges. But that was just my thought on it. But the odd thing was when I did, well, the B, the 8, and the 3, but I think it was with the 8. I had to do a little custom thing here to calculate this, but
Lord.
I'm still following, you know, the same curve here for the bottom, as you can see. And it's pretty simple. I just replicate this curve going through here, and then I make this line intersect where it is, so I get it in the right spot, as if these strokes were coming around, and then get rid of that guideline. But in the end, of course, we know the 8 you know, is like that. And so we'll just do the same thing here. Copy that guy.
Yeah.
And when I did that, when I made it that way, an optical illusion came into play, and the top looked wider than the bottom. And so I narrowed it slightly, as you can see, to reduce that optical illusion. It was really weird.
So that's like, I remember as a kid, I used to like that little trick. You can take like 2 curves and put them on top of each other. They're the same size, and the bottom one looks taller. So is it like that kind of a thing? You know what I'm talking about? Anybody?
I suppose.
Yeah.
I guess because this curve is, the aspect of this is different. It's probably playing into that somehow.
Yeah.
But the B, of course, has the same issue, and so it's basically the 8 with a flat side. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know, and then you get on to other things like, I still could tweak them. Like you can tell here, of course, the semicolon and the colon are very not lined up, but that's how they are in the font. So it's like, how much of that quirkiness do I keep? And it's that way because the descender doesn't have a true descender, so it gets raised up. But for some reason, they decided not to raise the colon up. It's kind of low. But that's how it was. So I could raise it up, you know, and I might try looking at that.
I would leave it. I would leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I had to decide how I was going to do the commas.
Same
in
issue.
both of those, you know.
Well, you know, your colon usually sits low anyway.
There you go. Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
The garbage dump right next to the playground.
So there's the comma pixels on top.
Oh yeah.
So it's really kind of a similar idea. I guess I narrowed this just to try to make it look a little better. But the idea was not too much so that it still, in theory, would downsample to that whole pixel, you see. Of course, this is kind of generous, I noticed here, but but anyhow, that's kind of some of the thought processes, and obviously you get to some of the harder ones like ampersand. Oh well, also the other thing in there was deciding what to do
with the period.
With the period, so I went with a little.
Well, that should be the simplest one of all. How can you...
A little. Well, no, I said it needs to be a little pixely, but it needs to be a little soft. So I just rounded the corners slightly. And so,
and the odd thing here is that, you know, in theory, the period and the comma should have the same width, but
yeah, they made the period chunky.
4 pixels.
So that's to me that's a a thing that has to stay. It has
Mhm.
to stay it has to stay big. That's just the
Well,
thing.
most of those changes were, I mean, they were done like this. So like when you looked at it on a TV, like you could see the damn thing, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't do it with a semicolon. It still has a rounded square here, with the idea being that, well, a semicolon is a dot, so it'll be a little bit of a pixely dot.
Hmm.
I mean, I could make it a literal circle, but then I thought, yeah, but then the period would be this giant circle. I thought it felt like it needed to be a little square, so I just kind of made them all a rounded square,
Oh.
and rounded this as well. But then decided, okay, it's going to finish in a clean end, sharp end. But
And I'm noticing too, Ryan, that how about your M and your W? See, the M doesn't really have a point to it in the middle. I don't know what the original font looked
yeah,
like.
so then there are things that are other quirkiness, because the Sinclair font unlike a lot of the fonts, use an even number of pixels, and so a lot of fonts, they did the 5 or 7 to have an odd, which gave you a center pixel, and so a lot of things worked out nice, and that's why we have like the 3 has a smaller top than bottom, and a lot of the things are like that. But that's one of the quirks of the font that must remain, is that asymmetry.
Mm-hmm.
And so so the M here had a 2 pixel middle, sort of a hammock instead of an angle,
Mm-hmm.
which was always and I think was, well, what are you going to do? Have the point off to one side? So they just kind of did this. So, well, what does that look like? And so I said, well, let's kind of keep that, but we'll come in with the smooth angles, and then just see, and following my other little things. I'm like, okay, these don't have pointy shoulders, right? I think, do I have those variants? Maybe not for the M, but I thought, no, the M's not going to have pointy shoulders, so it's going to be in the pixels. So that way this angle comes down through the pixels, or it should. Let's see how we did here. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant about, okay, this distance here is still 1 pixel, so it doesn't, because otherwise the diagonal of the pixels is square root of 2 times 1. So it kind of cuts in here, and yeah, so that's how that one came out. I said, okay, I kind of like it, and I didn't, because if I'd gone and made this a point, I just didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of lost what this M was like.
Right.
What about the lowercase ones? That's the big thing, right? The Sinclair ones are always closer, and then the Timex, they made them a little spread apart. So.
And so part of like looking at the end made it easy to decide, okay, these corners here are going to be corners rather than a sharp point.
The outside corner.
That way they wind up looking more like the pixel version. And so I went round and round with the Q. There's a lot of Q's there. Tried, but it felt like it needed something sticking out the bottom, and I thought, hey, if it was just small enough, if you pixelated it, it wouldn't come out. It wouldn't come out, and it would look like this Q, kind of, sort of, and then still have kind of a character to it.
Wow, I never noticed it didn't I guess, yeah.
There's no room.
I mean, you could have put a tail.
That would have been odd.
Things do have descenders, but I think it would have looked kind of odd.
Yeah.
It was stuck out a little too much. So it had to be subtle. And so I gave it just this little piece there.
That's where the artistry of this comes in, It's not just going
and then you got to decide,
converting.
like, the V and W, similar things. Now, the W is kind of the curvy version of the M. But at least I wound up deciding to go with the angles there. To say, so here I've got the point. I don't know. Did I have the variance?
for W?
No.
You just went ahead and made a solid decision on W.
I might reconsider this. I did have several versions of the W. It didn't seem to feel right with a curve, but I might still do it. And the V, I just kind of went with the angles, and that center worked out well enough, I thought. And then the X, I said, well, the X, you got to keep this chunky middle. And that's how I wound up with this version. the pixel corners, and then those angles let in, and then I let those, instead of being sharp, I let them cut across the pixel boundary.
Hey, Ryan. I mean, you still have, it sounds like, a fair amount of noodling that you want to do.
Oh, a little bit, I think.
Okay.
So now here's the, I recently revised the curvature on the M. So that was what I was referring to. Some of the curves,
or a spectrum.
That's the Timex M. So I made the curves a little more consistent. I had some that were tighter, and I looked at them again and I said, nah, it doesn't look right.
And a Timex W, which is just, it looks like it's just the M upside down, right?
Oh, it exactly is.
Okay.
Is there like a quick way to just do that, by the way?
I don't know that. Yeah, I tried that. There's some sort of rotation thing, but then it was.
So, okay, this is a perfect example. This lowercase m. Of course, that's a spectrum M. It's not a Timex.
Yeah. So here's the spectrum M and W. The spectrum M, which I think I have down here, has a sharp top left here.
And the Timex one does not.
This is my older M, I think. Doesn't has the weirder curvature on it.
Oh my gosh, the Timex doesn't have that. I'm looking at your fuse screen in the lower left, and the M is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here we go.
Is shaped
yeah,
like
the Timex M is curved.
Yeah, it's not just a double pixel.
That's the other thing they changed. They took out that sharp
corner.
Point.
Yeah, nobody liked that corner anyway.
Yeah, it was a bad corner.
So
people hang out there.
That's right. What kind of corner that jumps out and grabs your tire?
So, like, I figured that the curly braces were going to be tricky. This is one I came up with. I could revise these where they extend up and down slightly. I did think about that when I looked at the parentheses. I thought, it might be nice to have them stick up just a little, not a whole pixel, maybe almost a half a pixel, just so that they don't. Because basically, I was trying to, be able to use this as a daily driver. If we.
Oh, okay.
So here's an example in my terminal.
Oh, that's it. That's your hope to do with this? Really? That's interesting to know.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Huh.
Or another one in the root here. And so as soon as I did that, that led me to realize that oddly, the lowercase b, so a lot of these lowercases, they're 1 pixel narrower than the capitals. Some are even narrower than that, but generally they're like 5, like A, B, D. The C's one is 4. The B is shifted over 1 more pixel than most all the others that are that same width. And so the first thing I noticed in a listing like this B here was like oddly aligned with everything else. And so that is one adjustment I made, was I scooched it back over, as you can see here.
Ryan, the next time you're over here, remind me to show you the 3x5 character set on the Astrocade, because there's like a regular size character set, and someone wanted to make, so you could fit more stuff on the screen, and so they made a character set that's 3x5, and it's
that's
amazing
like the one,
that it works.
That's like the one on the Robotron game.
Is that 3x5?
I think it is. Yeah.
Wow, that's such a good game too.
It's probably 3x5. It's 3 by something. So the other ones, I noticed that I started looking at the other ones, and some of them look a little odd. I don't know if we see them here. But basically the T, L, I, and the F. I was like, oh yeah, they're a little interesting.
Hey,
but
Ryan,
all...
I'm going to pause you here for a second. So we're about 45 minutes in. Is there some other people who have some stuff they'd like to share with us, the group today?
Well, the next thing I want to jump to is talking about the BCF MidwestCon.
Okay, Ryan, why don't you take a minute or two to finish up here, and we'll move on to that.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's kind of it, really. I'm trying to think if there was anything.
So, okay, Ryan, one other
particular
question that I have is, I know in some fonts you can sort of set what the base glyph is going to be for a character, but then you can say there's 3 other variants or 5 other variants.
Oh yeah, that's stuff I haven't looked at yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's possible. Like, yeah, to have variants with the M and the W, that kind of thing.
That's exactly where I was going with this. It's like, well, you got those X's, right? And sometimes, I mean, personally, I like the 4th X, right? But for some things, the 3rd would make more sense. You know, I could see the uses of having those different variants.
Yeah, the 4th one is basically the first one, but without the chunky center.
With less chunk, yes.
So it's a question of, do you want to...
How do you specify that, right? Like I would, I mean, I see what you did with the Q, but I like the Q that doesn't have the pointy bit.
You know, there's ways. Like a good example of that, I don't know how they do it though, but I quite like IBM's monospace font called Input. And if you go to the website, you can customize it. You can say, I want a /0 or .0.
Oh.
You know, there's a couple of other choices you can make.
And then it assembles the...
I think it's just picking from pre-built fonts, because I don't think it's one of those you can change like you're describing, but I know that you can do that kind of thing. But it lets you pick that, and maybe they don't have them all, and it assembles them, but they've got all the different shapes. But yeah, it is constant once you do that. But you can customize that one that way. So I could just have, like, you know, another version. I've thought about that too, is make another version where, okay, it's got some more modifications. The other one was, of course, that since you can, of like taking some of these narrower ones and just recentering them so you don't have these quirky left-right alignments to worry about too much, as a practical matter.
So Ryan, you're making this. Well, I'm, you know, obviously on Windows, so I'm thinking you're gonna make like a TrueType font file so that you could, you know, use that on Windows.
He's not making this on Windows, actually.
Well, no, he's not making it on Windows, but it's a TrueType. So look on his, you know, on his Raspberry Pi, for instance.
Right.
Yeah. So I exported an OTF and a TTF.
Yeah. So you got a TTF, so TrueType font. So it should be able to do it on a Windows machine, and all your Windows text, well, your font text will look like Timex stuff. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be funny.
I'd like to see that. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Well, I think I put that in the post. I think I put those files in the post. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's good that you explain this, because I mean, I saw some of those and read a little bit about it, but I didn't think it applied to like a Windows machine, like you were making a TrueType font for Windows. That would be
well, it's a TrueType font. It's not.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for Windows. It's just
right. I mean, yeah, but Windows can use TrueType fonts. I don't know if they can use the other ones. I don't know. OTF, I've never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah. So you should be able to. Yeah.
But generally, I don't ever mess with the fonts on Windows. That's why, you know, it's like never really.
Well, you wouldn't want to change most of the fonts, but like in maybe in Notepad, or is it Notepad or WordPad or both? You can customize it, and in your command prompt, you can. Those are probably where you might use it. But everywhere else, you're probably gonna want a different proportional font. So.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay.
I'm gonna end your screen share.
Oh, here I can stop sharing.
Just like that. All right. So VCF Midwest, September 13th-ish. It is. Mowgli, you can go ahead and correct me. I'm going to say 2 days worth of chaos. Does that sound about right, Mowgli?
It's not. Well, we like to call it fun. Calling it chaos seems, a little bit of a negative label, and I don't want to put that on it. Actually, so it was more chaotic when we were at the hotel. These days at the convention center, especially with the layout that Mike and Jason, well, mostly Mike, I think, tends to come up with, things work pretty well.
Cool.
They don't always manage to get, like, they didn't last time in the hotel. We had a bunch of different rooms, and they kind of made the rooms like themed. So like the really big stuff would be in one room, the certain micros would be in another, like you'd go 8-bit, you'd go 16-bit, things like that. They haven't quite managed to pull that off yet with the convention center stuff, but at least as far as the tables and stuff like that go, like usually if you have requests, and you can basically probably would be able to get like a bunch of tables all together, so you could pretty much all have the Timex Sinclair stuff there together. I don't know when those. Hopefully, you guys are on the email list for it.
Yeah.
And we'll find out when like tables are available and things like that. I'm hoping they don't do it as late as they did last year. But they were scrambling a little bit because the table stuff sold. They sold out the first round of tables in like 2 hours or under 2 hours. And it was kind of like, okay, that wasn't working. So they kind of went back and redid things a little bit, and a bunch of us also kind of reconfigured the tables that people had gotten amongst ourselves for people who had gotten multiple tables and stuff. And so this year it's supposed to be bigger. I think they are adding a second hall, or at least more. Last year we were in one of 3 halls in the convention center. I think this year we'll have at least half of a second hall, possibly the whole second hall.
Wow.
And they may, there's a telephone group that meets the same weekend, but usually down in Urbana. And I think they were looking at trying to fold them into the VCF thing. So there may be, but it's a very small group. So anyway, there should be, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff, basically is the way to put it. So the official, it officially opens Saturday the 13th and closes Sunday the 14th. Usually we start setup on Thursday, I think, and then Friday is essentially everybody moves in their stuff. Plus, we finish setting up stuff that we didn't get to. Usually, they start putting in the telephone network at that point, and the networking stuff. Although sometimes maybe that was already set up last year on Thursday. But anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't call it chaos. I would call it fun. But there will be a lot of people. There's a lot of talking there's a lot of stuff to go see, and lots of people have interesting and just weird stuff that you may not have seen before, or may not have seen in 40 years.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And for what it's worth, I sent out a request. Let's see, what is this, the 9th, a week or so ago? Yeah, a week ago, asking people to fill out a web form and indicate, when they thought they would be arriving, and what they wanted to do in terms of getting their own table and what kind of stuff they want to bring.
Should we start like a separate little thing to talk about that in general, or will that be enough? Like, I guess I have to talk to Carl about how that will work out, and Ryan and I, because we're trying to figure that out. We haven't, since you've posted that, we haven't talked about it. But Carl, what do you think would be the right way to go about it? Like, just for say, us or other people? I mean, are there other people who live close together who are going to travel together? I'm guessing not.
I don't think anybody knows where anybody lives except for Joe and Peyton are both in Kansas. But
Okay.
I don't think Peyton's here, but I think Joe says you said you're going to drive up, Joe. And I think Peyton said in one of our meetings that he was going to drive up.
It was like, even if you weren't close and you were driving and you could pick someone up on the way,
Right.
like when you wanted to take some stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could work, even if they're like in another state. If
Well,
someone
I
was
think that would
driving,
only
did
be
that.
exciting if it were Paul Holmgren doing the driving.
Okay. So,
I resemble
like,
that.
I guess it's a private document or not, right?
Is it private? No, because it's in the shared Google Drive space, and so I'll post it again.
Okay.
Well, it's the little questionnaire that fills a line in the spreadsheet, isn't it?
Yep, that's all it does.
So can that get modified easily?
The spreadsheet?
Like if we if our plans update?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just look at
Or do I just tell you and you change it?
Oh, look, it's only me that has access, and only people.
I think it's through the form that we have access.
Yep. But I can change the permission on the spreadsheet too for all the folks who've completed it thus far.
And it's good too, David, that you brought that up, because I had forgotten. I think I briefly remember seeing that.
You filled it out, Carl.
Did I?
Yeah, I see your name here. You filled it out on the 10th.
Okay, well then maybe I did it right away, because otherwise I don't remember filling it out.
It says 2:50, which I'm assuming is AM in the morning. Like you were up all night.
Oh yeah, I'm a late guy, so I'm a night owl.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I do
Adam,
my best.
Adam, you're not here, and Ryan's not listed in this yet. So, like you said, Adam, we need to coordinate.
Well,
So
I think I put mine in there because I wanted to make sure that I got a table.
Yeah.
I would definitely want to get a table. So.
Yeah.
And then of course, others of us in this group that are going to get a table, that would obviously be nice. Like Mowgli was saying, that they will all be together. That way we won't be spread across this thing, and that kind of would suck. Because then you can't talk to each other, and stuff like that. You don't want to be stuck by yourself somewhere.
Yeah, if I remember right, the questionnaire form that they did last year had a thing of like, okay, are there people you want to be next to, or do you have, sort of criteria for where you want your table kind of deal. And so, but I mean, when we get to that point, I can also talk to them and explain to them what's going on and see if we can arrange basically to get all of your tables in an area in the same island. Usually the convention center gets kind of divided up into islands. And I forget, well, I don't have it on this laptop. I have it on my old laptop. But I have the map from last year, so you could see like there were something like 10 or 12 islands, and each of them basically a bunch of tables around it in an enclosed space with a couple of places where you go in between them. Okay. And I'm expecting roughly the same thing again. So you guys, we would basically just try to make sure you guys all wind up in the same island next to each other, and then that should be pretty good.
Yeah.
And Mowgli, is there some sort of, I mean, can you sell stuff right at your table, or is there a
Oh
different?
yeah,
Okay.
you're responsible for handling the tax stuff. They don't hand out any kind of tax document, so you're responsible for figuring out the local what the local taxes are and contacting this is Schaumburg.
Mm-hmm.
So and it is through the city of Schaumburg because the city of Schaumburg runs its own convention center in conjunction with the Marriott running the hotel. So the city knows you were there. So it's kind of a good idea to be up and up on the tax thing. But they said that like the city will randomly send people around to check things, but I don't know. I didn't hear that ever actually officially happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Somebody shows up with a briefcase.
Well, the other thing too is that we're not selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff. This is small
oh,
change
the
stuff.
city wants its money, even if you're
Well,
selling
yeah.
them a paperclip.
Unfortunately, Schaumburg has a city tax, so they will be probably watching. It's 10% across the board that covers state and Schaumburg city tax, sales tax.
I'm sorry, did you say 10%?
10%. Yep.
Wow. And I thought we had high taxes where I am. Okay.
Ha, welcome to Illinois.
Are there any payment systems that might automatically help with this? Help with that?
Sure. If you got one of them like Square things or something.
I don't know. I don't do payment or I don't sell anything, so I have no idea on that.
The good news is it's 10%, so it's really easy to calculate.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
that's the only good news about those taxes.
Yeah, it's just I don't know how they would find out a lot of that stuff. I don't know. I'm sure there's some way, but hey, you got somebody walking up to your table and they give you $20 for something cash. Well, obviously that's not going to be a problem. But yeah, if they're putting their credit card into something and paying for it that way, that obviously now there's a paper trail.
So if it was someplace else in the state, it probably wouldn't be as big a deal. But Schaumburg's a little, because they have a city sales tax. A lot of places in Illinois don't have a city sales tax, but because they have a city sales tax, they kind of watch it a lot closer than other cities in Illinois would.
Well, I mean, I would say, if you're obviously running a business and you have a business license and all that stuff, I could see that being, more valuable. But, we're just individuals, bartering, selling stuff. I don't think they would really, like I said, unless you're doing a lot, they would probably be like, hey, you sold $5,000.
It probably depends on how much money you're
you're
selling stuff too. So yeah, I think most of the Timex stuff probably is not gonna hit the radar. But if you're, if you got a shop that's selling old PCs and you sell 10 worth of old PCs, they're gonna want their money.
Yeah.
I don't want to derail too much, but for some reason, Schaumburg is sticking in my mind as there was or is some big company used to be there.
Motorola.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You can see what's left of the Motorola offices from the hotel and the convention center.
Okay.
I believe. Or it's like right across the major road.
Was it just offices then? Or headquarters or
that I don't know for sure. I just know that it's been mentioned that was the home of Motorola, and I know you can see a Motorola building from basically the corner where you turn into the hotel.
Yeah, I don't think they had any manufacturing there. I think it was just the corporate offices, but I could be wrong.
There must have been something in that area because a friend of mine, I think that's
Yeah, well, now that David mentioned that, and I'm something's kind of ringing in my synopsis too. That Schaumburg, something there, yeah.
But definitely Motorola. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so in theory, 11, 13 of us, basically. If we, I don't want to, Adam, do you think you're going to go?
Yeah, I mean, like, as long as Carl is okay with like me not having weirdness, like if I have a seizure or something, and I think he seems to worry about it, but um,
Hey,
Well, I don't
Carl,
know how often it
yeah,
happens,
and it happens
but I
pretty much
mean,
every day. So
yeah, I don't think, from when we've hung out, it's never happened.
yeah, well, it has,
Oh,
but
okay. Well,
sometimes they're
then,
not noticeable. So
yeah,
like it,
yeah,
I know, but you may not. It depends how it
right.
goes. It depends
Right.
how they are.
But I don't,
But
I don't have a problem with it. It's
yeah, I
just,
plan. I want to go. Yes.
right.
I so I'll just say yes. I'm going.
Okay.
Um, so I need to work out the details with Carl and all that stuff.
And
But
Ryan, I mean, I know you feel like a school thing. Either
What's that?
do you have some sort of conflict in terms of the timing?
Um, I don't think so. I mean,
you
I
were
guess
talking about your daughter's
yeah.
schooling.
We'd probably be able to sort that.
If she's old enough to own a base, she's old enough to get herself to school.
So we have my mom here that she can help out, and her sister. So I think it'll be all right.
Okay. Right. So that means 10 people who filled out the form. Roughly 13 of us so far.
I just don't know if I'll have anything that I could bring that I could think of that's going to be unique.
But we could run.
It's going to be there already.
To run a demo of your programs, for instance. And perhaps the your navigator program for the Pico.
Yeah.
Plus, you can just hang out and look good, Ryan. You are the most handsomest among us all.
Yeah, okay. You sold me.
Stroke your beard wisely. You just stroke your beard wisely.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
We'll take lessons in that from Ryan.
Practice my good jobs.
All right.
So who else here is going?
Hang on, let me get back
Definitely
to the
me.
Yeah, David's gonna
Okay,
come.
right,
But
right.
David, relatively speaking, you're nearby, right?
Yeah, 2.5 to 3 hours away. I used to
Yeah.
actually work up there. I used to drive it every day, believe it or not.
Really? Oh my gosh.
I was
Oh my
young
gosh.
and stupid. But, it was like a 16-hour day, counting the dry time.
Right.
But
I
mean, worst case scenario, something comes up and I got to run home and get some. I can do it. But I am staying at the hotel because I'm too lazy to drive that far every day.
Ingo is going to come, and he says he's going to bring his Kilo Zeds. Z, who's not often, I don't think he's only joined us like once or twice in a Zoom meeting, but he's reasonably active on the list. He says he's going to come. He says he wants to get his own table. Is Jeff K here today? No, Jeff K's not. Jeff's from in Shreveport, Alabama. So he'll be here. Randy Kindig. He says he's going to get. He says he's going to be near the Atari section. He doesn't want to associate with us.
Let's get rid of those guys then. No.
Well, Randy. Okay, wait. Randy Kindig is the guy who does Radio Shack stuff.
And
Radio
yeah,
Shack stuff?
and Atari. He does the Antic show as well.
Yeah, I know him for Atari.
Okay.
For the
All right.
Yeah, he'll have a
Oh,
lot of different.
I didn't know he did Timex Sinclair stuff.
That's
I mean,
He
I
has
read
Floppy
it.
Days, Antic, Timex. He said I don't think there's anything he's not into. So
Okay.
I was going to ask David.
Yeah.
Do we know if there's other Timexers that aren't associated with this group that might show up?
Well, I mean, you're almost asking me to prove a negative.
Well, I mean, if we happen to know if there was any other than Randy, obviously.
There's a guy, Jeff Feta, who has shown in the past.
Yes, and he had a fairly complete, although he was missing an Airco disk interface, which we had discussions about.
Yeah.
But at the so he didn't show up last year.
Okay.
And I think the year before, when we were at the hotel, I forget, he might not have shown up there, but I think I saw him at the Cocoa Fest in the spring, and he said he was undergoing a bunch of changes with his family and stuff like that, and and I think also moving and a thing. So he was basically saying he was going to be busy for a while and might not be around.
Yeah, I mean that's the same
but
conversation.
He used to have like a very, very complete, at least of all the main commercial stuff, both the Sinclair and the Timex stuff.
Yeah.
And at his table, he used to have a really nice kind of a stacked setup shelving thing with a whole bunch of different units on it.
Cool.
So yeah, I haven't seen him for at least a year and a half or so, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But
this person you're talking about, he's like from like what community? What gaming or computer community?
Well, he's a Timexer, but like Mowgli said, he's also other systems. But he has a very good collection. He's if I recall correctly, he's like an engineer or something. And had lots of grand plans, but then all sorts of craziness happened to him. Like Mowgli was saying, and had a lot of rearrangement that he had to do with his life.
Yeah.
So Tim's not going, Mr. Swenson? No. Mr. Holgren? I think Holgren's gonna be up there, right? No?
I'm still a maybe.
Okay.
Okay, Paul, if you insist.
Well,
how far is it for you, Paul?
Pardon?
How far is it for you, Paul?
3.5 hours.
Oh, come on. You can do it.
I know.
If only so we can, get to ride in a car with you driving.
In my defense, in the 70s, I was involved in racing.
See?
So I might have had at one time an advantage over the average driver.
I don't know. I grew up driving in Chicago. I think I can give you a run for your money.
Hey,
that's true.
Chicago a lot.
And I think Joe's going too, right? I think obviously you're going, Joe, going. And then no Johnny Red. That'd be quite an expensive trip, but it'd be cool to see you there.
And Jeff Burrell, who's in Minneapolis. I mean, he's out in the suburb of Minneapolis. He's going to come too.
Okay.
And then there's one other person who we know, but I'm not going to tell you because it's not my news to tell. But
sounds like a secret.
It's a secret. It'll be a surprise until he wants to tell it. A surprise guest, and it will blow your mind when he shows up.
Like a guest, like to talk. Oh, now
one of us. He's one of us.
I'll just shut up. I'll be quiet. I don't know.
It's one of us.
Did you dig up Sir Clive?
Ex-wife.
I got the zombie Sir Clive.
That would be something.
Maybe his son, or maybe Tim Ross will show up.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mark, are you able to pop on for a sec?
Yeah.
Is that you in my list?
Yes.
Okay, and Mark.
Okay.
I am not the surprise guest, though.
Right.
Just gotta ask.
And Mark, you are mostly QL. That's cool. You'll probably be our QL representative.
Yes,
seeing as I have none.
Miracle Systems hard drive.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Since Tim's not going, obviously we're not.
Yeah, a certain someone else in Albuquerque has all the QLs.
Yeah, we'll have to catch up with him.
Talk about that for a
So
little
how was
second.
Mark a QL and I don't know of him?
What was that, Tim?
So how was Mark a QL and I don't know of him in the U.S.?
Yeah, right. Because you're like the epicenter of US QLs for a certain point.
What do you mean by that?
Because
now, like, how do you say Albuquerque was the epicenter of US QLs?
No, Tim. Tim
Oh.
is the epicenter because of his activity in the how busy he was in the community. Hey, Christian, are you saying that you would like to have your micro drives read? I'm sorry, I misinterpreted your statement. I thought you were saying that you wanted to come and you would have some micro drives ready.
Well, I just have nothing to read the micro drives that I have, so I wish I knew of someone that could copy the files that are in them.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Well, are they QL micro drives, Christian, or Spectrum?
Well, let me see. I should have them in my box.
How do you tell?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you. I mean.
Oh wait, never mind. I got them out in the open.
You can't from the outside.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the same. They're the same physically.
Exact same.
Okay.
Well, they don't.
QL read both or not?
No.
They're physically different format. I
Yeah.
don't think one can read the other.
The file format.
Nope.
Okay.
Let me
Well,
see if I
I
can get this camera on.
I do have, the Spectrum microdrive stuff, that I can certainly read, the Spectrum stuff.
I just got this one.
But I'm
Tim
not
gave
sure
me.
if mine works because I don't have any tapes to test it with. So
Hmm.
There's always the issue of the felt still good or not.
Oof.
it spins. That much I can say.
Well, it's not necessarily a belt in there. It's just the thing that's on the spindle. Yeah, the rubber wheel on the spindle.
Oh, the pinch roller, yeah.
The pinch roller, yeah.
Yeah, that's because it's a direct drive kind of thing. So yeah, but
like 8-tracks.
Yeah, my guess is probably shot.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing that goes bad on those is the felt falls off or disintegrates, and then you have to put new felt on there. Otherwise, it won't make good contact with the head and blah blah blah. Of course,
It's the same as redoing an 8-track.
Yeah.
The 8-track has the same problem.
Do 8-tracks, do people care about redoing 8-tracks? I mean, not to sound jerky or anything, but any format where they have to fade out a song and like fade it back into the next track to like have a song be long enough to fit on a tape. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there were songs that would cross over.
Yeah.
They cross over the tracks, right?
That was the reason that I have none. So the first time I heard one at a friend's house and it did that in the middle of the song, and I just kind of looked at him like, "Really? That's how that works?"
Hey, man, you grew up in a later time, man. I mean, you have to imagine yourself in already being like 20, 30 years old in the 70s, and that would be like, hey, this is cool, man, because they didn't have anything like that before. That was the first kind of tape format other than reel to reel.
Yeah.
Yep.
And reel to reel was worse.
Yeah.
Especially
I remember my father having an 8-track in the Volkswagen in like 72, 73, and that was the only way to play music other than the radio.
Yeah.
How is there any room for
AM.
How is there any room for anybody else to get in the car with the 8-track in the VW?
Come on.
So
now.
remember the VW had a seat, back seat, and then a rear area?
Yeah.
That's where the 8-tracks went, was the back area.
Oh my God! In that trunk space back there. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I remember being about eight or so, and I remember sitting in that area while we're driving down the highway.
Tim, you sat in the trunk space of a VW Bug. I
Well,
mean,
that's
my
hard to
parents
get
didn't do that
into.
to me.
But the space that was kind of in the back, yeah, I was small. There were no laws on seatbelts back then, so
And indeed, Christian, that looks like a microdrive tape. I don't know, maybe maybe you want to send 1 or 2 to Carl and see if Carl can get
I do
anything
have
off.
two. I do have 2 QLs. I know one was supposedly sold to me as broken, and I have the other one, which I've just never hooked them up yet. So but I do have 2 QLs, so I potentially could read QL ones too if I
do
get
have
that
the
up and
one
running.
that Tim sent me in the box of stuff.
And Tim, was that a QL or
Do you remember?
It came
Oh
from
yeah,
Tim.
yeah. I've never seen any Spectrum micro drives.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so there were some here, but not a lot. Some folks did import them.
And then of course, we got John Brown, which has got a whole brand new set of them. So
Yeah.
QL stuff, but
He does want to have a meetup with the 4 of us too, so we can get together and check out his stuff.
Take pictures.
Yeah, sure.
Gotta get you guys.
We won't
covered
share
the
them, but we'll
QL
take plenty of
side.
pictures.
because I thought I brought my QL or one of them at least over to you, Adam, at one time, because I remember we were
I
talking
think
about
so.
the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the USA ones are different than the UK ones.
I think it's
and
even
blah,
in the
blah,
video I
blah.
made of it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that I took took at least one of them over there. I don't know if I had the other one at the time, or maybe I only had the broken one. But I just haven't really spent any time with that. So at least I have them. But
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, Carl, kind of my only, if you want to call them unique ones, are the ones I think you still have, is my US 81 and the USified Spectrum.
Yeah, I got to change the keyboard. Well, the keyboard didn't work on the NTSC Spectrum, right? That's what.
Yeah. So I guess we had got that's a little. Anybody know how tough pulling that metal cup plate off is?
Oh,
it can be a pain. I'm just probably gonna heat it up.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest.
Yeah.
Why not use like a hairdryer or even
It's not the heat thing you used to desolder that chip.
No. Just
But
like a heat gun, but you kind of need to get that adhesive softer so that you don't bend. Because if you don't do that and the adhesive's really strong, you can bend that aluminum a little bit. Because you'll probably stick a screwdriver in there to kind of pry it up, and you'll get all these little dimples in the aluminum. So you don't want that.
Well, you probably want to peel it up on the long edge so it doesn't bend as easily, I would think.
Well, there's at least I've done this on the 1500, and on the 1500 there is adhesive all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume it's the same thing on the Spectrum, although I have not disassembled one.
And usually on the Spectrum, the ends are pretty much not adhered anymore anyway on most of them. It's just the ones that go on the bottom and the top of the width of the keyboard that'll hold it down. And like I said, I've taken some off, and if you don't heat it, you will end up bending it.
Really easy.
And it's hard to get it back. Although you can buy new ones, so it's not like it's a lost cause. You can't buy new 1500 ones, so that's kind of different. But the Spectrum ones, I mean, those are they reproduce those no problem. So
yeah, that's
true. Have you
true.
ever seen an eraser shield?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever seen an eraser shield?
Yeah. It's not in a long time.
You can
is it a shim?
And work on the adhesive with that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they make spudgers. It's plastic, doodads.
Yeah.
Well, plastic spudgers usually are a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Because of plastic, but
no,
I get what you're saying. Yeah, you can push that through there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like I said, that's very thin aluminum, and just any kind of it's. The other thing, I guess you could soak the whole thing in an IPA, and that'll probably give it a couple hours. It'll probably just fall off.
Probably lift off the
ink. I mean, you're hopefully it doesn't ruin the rubber, the keyboard, the keypad, but I don't think it would. But who knows?
Speaking of keyboards, did you guys see the Easy Key 60 off the top of my head on eBay?
No.
Okay, let me see if I can find it.
Hey, David, while you're looking for that, can I tell a quick eBay story that
You can do
I
whatever you
found out
want.
yesterday?
Yes.
All right. So yesterday I'm chatting with my wife and I mentioned something about eBay and she's
Hmm.
like, yeah, I haven't looked at that kind of stuff. And I'm like, and it turns out she's never, ever, ever visited eBay.
Oh
Ever.
boy.
Come on. Not even for
I
Beanie
was like,
Babies?
what? So I'm not going to introduce it to her.
Yeah, don't do that.
But yeah, she's like, no, I never have.
No.
That's got to be the world's deepest rabbit hole right there, called eBay.
All right. So I with the part of the reason I ask is because I have like this search and it popped up in my search. um, Unfortunately, all the pictures are sideways. Uh, and I was like, oh, cool, $25. That's a reasonable opening
Yeah.
uh, uh, bid for this. And then I
Oh
saw
my
this.
God.
Uh-huh.
What the hell?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
It was higher.
that's to you. That's across the country.
It was like 115 when I first saw it. And I'm like, what? They're
They're playing games
yes. Mm-hmm.
because the fees are based on selling price
Yep.
rather than
Shipping price. Yeah.
No, the shipping price is included in the fees.
Is it?
It's all together, and that is my bid. Yes.
Oh, really, Joe? You're willing to go for that?
Well, the shipping is less for me than it is for you, by a considerable amount.
I mean, what's he doing? Driving it to you?
I don't know, but I see that a lot.
Okay.
But it better be wrapped in 17 layers of bubble wrap.
And you're going to get a ZX printer too.
Yeah.
Well, please explain what I'm looking at there. I don't. It's just a keyboard for the 1000 or
no, yeah, for the 1000. So
okay,
and this guy in
it's in a case, a standard instrument case. It looks like.
That's a Hammond case. Hammond is a case manufacturer. But this guy up in the Boston area back in the early 80s had these things custom made, and they've got like I don't know if you can see that red button is shift and the yellow one is function, and this so some of this where you had to do function was shift enter if I recall correctly. It combines some of those things, and it's got a little separate keypad over here. There was a smaller one called the Easy Key 40 or 44, which didn't have, I don't think it had the number pad.
And not to mention all those handy notes on the front.
Yep. And they had the clearly printed on the overlay. And then let's see here.
No, I meant the
oh yeah,
the Dymo labels. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's some more Dymo labels.
it adds ports. What are those?
No, these are
those.
just
Okay,
cutouts
never
for
mind. I see.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't understand why I can't see the power mic and ear jacks, but maybe it's just because they're black and and you also get a ZX printer with a roll of, where is it? A half-used roll of silver paper. So Joe, you'll have to report back on that portion.
Well, if I get it, I doubt that I will, because I didn't bid that much.
Well,
not at that shipping cost. It's still $75 shipping to me. So
yeah, that's craziness. That's anyway.
Well, if that's one of those big blue steel instrument panels, they're heavy.
It's not that heavy, Adam.
You don't think?
It's not that.
It shouldn't be that much.
The shipping is a little unreasonable.
Yeah, that's that shipping scam that people
Remember,
do.
I spent a year ago shipping a bunch of Timex Sinclair stuff around. It was nowhere near that.
Yeah. I've got one of those.
You got to remember the size of the 81 is this big.
Yes, and it weighs a ton. Because of its massive computing power.
Right.
It's all based on weight.
And the RAM chips all inside.
Though, I ran across someone is Zebra Systems Inc. on eBay.
Yes.
Selling a TS1000 keyboard. Is that actually the same Zebra Systems people that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Stuart Neufeld.
that's Stuart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He used to come to the meetings, and every once in a while he'll pop in. But yeah, he's got this storage facility out in Pennsylvania that his brother rented 1,000,000 years ago, and I think he's slowly cleaning that out. And he said something about underneath his porch.
Oh, did he?
And I was talking to Ingo because he was really intrigued with the 1060 project, and so we're collaborating a little bit on that, and I don't know, we had like 2-hour discussion about it, but so we're looking at but anyway, the thing, what was I trying to say there was and then I kind of forgot now what we were talking about.
Was it related
what we were just talking about?
To the keyboard and Stuart?
Stuart. It was he got some ULAs from Stuart. I guess he talked to Stuart about, because I was like, I've got a machine or two that have, I mean, the ULAs work, but they're weak. The video output I'm on is weak, so you can't really composite mod them. The composite mod signal, I guess maybe you could boost the signal before you throw it to the composite mod. I don't know, but anyway, that's what's really wrong with it, and it would be nice to see if get some ULAs for a reasonable cost. I mean, otherwise you just end up buying TS1000s, right, on eBay for $50, and but you're kind of rolling the dice there. How old's the ULA, and but anyway.
And Carl, I'm assuming you're talking about the our friends on the other side of the pond are far more into this deep geekery than we are, but there are at minimum 2 different versions of the ULA for the ZX81, and the one is known as the 184 ULA, and the other one's known as the 210, and the 210 is later. Apparently has a better, the
210 has the back porch, built in. The 184 does not. And then there's even an earlier one, I think a 153 maybe.
Okay.
That was like the first ULA that they came out with. Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you take one, like if you take the latest one and put it into the earliest one, will it work still, or do you have to make other changes to the board?
They're pin compatible. They'll plug into whichever one. It's just you won't have any back porch. But back then a lot of TVs didn't worry about that, and it worked anyway. But now modern TVs, they're so locked down to what they would expect to see that if you don't have the back porch, you'll see a very, very dark picture, probably, if you see a picture at all.
Here's the one with the crappy back porch. I'm waiting on a PCB to composite mod it.
And David, which ULA is that one?
That is the 184.
184.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I think is probably the most popular one, because that was the middle one, right? And then the 210 came later. And then there's the ULA replacements, right? I've got a couple of the VLA 81s. Right. I mean, they're nice, they're cool, but they're $50 by themselves, right? And I'd rather just put a regular ULA in this. This is one of Ryan's actually, but it's the green one, right, with the green.
Oh wow!
And it says Timex Sinclair 1000 all over it, and this is the one from Italy, I think, or Spain. The board is from Spain.
Yeah.
And but this one had a weak ULA. Like I said, it did work, but I tried to composite mod it, and it doesn't work.
Before you put that away, Carl, under the strap on the bottom, the grounding strap, that's black.
Yeah, there's a piece of plastic there. Yeah,
plastic.
All of them should have that. Yeah.
No, the earlier ones, it's a white. I mean, it's a beigeish cardboard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, I was curious. Okay.
I do remember the cardboard ones too, but yeah, this one's like a piece of plastic that they notched out the ends, so yeah, obviously it doesn't short out the board when you put it in the case, and it does short to the bottom of the case for that shielding.
Yeah.
But I've seen them both ways. You're right. Yeah, this one does have the plastic one, and the other ones, you're right, it's kind of like a phenolic thing. Maybe like a phenolic, or maybe it is cardboard. It might be something of that sort. It's the same thing that this thing's kind of made out of.
Oh, that
The
one's
thing that's
plastic?
on the thing that's on the modulator.
Oh,
The
that's
black.
cardboard on the earlier ones. Like, it's just like black
Okay.
cardboard or something.
Yeah, this one's like black plastic. It's textured actually. It's got like a texture on it on
Oh,
one
interesting.
side, which is kind of, yeah, I don't know what they use to cut these out of, but
Well, I
probably.
got one more question for you, Carl. What's the oldest or most recent, I guess, date code on the chips on that board? Like, what's the date code on the Z80 or it's probably the NAC, right? The 780.
This is a Zilog.
Okay.
It's an 8312. So,
All right.
and then the ROM is a Motorola part, which
So
is
just
kind
so I
of
make sure,
unusual.
like that means December 1983?
Yes.
Yes.
12?
12.
No, 12 would be
12th
12 weeks,
week.
be about
Yeah,
March-ish.
12th
Oh, 12th
week of
week?
83.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be Marchish. The ROM, and that's socketed, right? And so is the ULA on this. So both of
Okay.
those are socketed from the factory. The ROM is a Motorola part, which, like I said, I don't usually see that. Usually you see other ones.
Yeah.
But it's
STS.
it's a ZCM whatever. But anyway, this is also 8312.
Okay.
And then the RAM is an NEC part, and it's actually a ceramic.
Oh.
It's not plastic dip. I don't see I mean, it's got a little label here on it.
It looks like a narrower RAM.
Narrower.
Yes.
And it had a little label on it, which is now no longer there, but I don't I don't really see a date code. NEC NEC is kind of weird. It's just a D4016
Yeah.
D, and it says E24939-218. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't have like the 4-digit.
Yeah.
So it looks like kind of early,
probably mid 83. That was
maybe since second quarter of 83. Yeah, because the parts are obviously going to be older than the unit itself.
Yeah.
And then the board, I don't think the board really says anything.
Interesting.
It's just copyright 1981 Spain. It actually has a Timex part number, a 330 part number.
Yeah.
330-811103. It says Timex Sinclair.
Huh. The reason I asked,
here...
Charles, is I don't recall having seen a green board like that. And is that a narrower RAM chip? Is it like a 300 wide?
No, it's a 600.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carl, hello, this is Gustavo.
Hey, Gustavo.
How are you? A question. In this board, do you have any logo or something very close to the date or made in Spain?
It's made in Spain. It does say made or copyright 1981 copyright Spain. That's in the copper.
Okay.
Well, it's got the silk screen on top of it, but it's it's obviously copper.
You don't
Issue
have any
3
logo or any
there's
circle?
I mean, there's like a little M. I don't think I'm going to be able to show that on there, but I think I did take pictures of this and post it before. So I mean, because I've never really seen a green one either, right? I mean, this is kind of like, wow, a green. That's like the normal silk screen, but most of the ones you see they're red, right? But
any PCB factory has a logo, and normally are stamped inside in any part and used for the PCB. That is important because I don't know if those board was sent to Portugal or another country.
We actually talked about this quite a while ago.
Yeah, it's been quite a while ago.
And Joao was able to explain to us what the story was with Portugal and how those things ended up being made. Those boards ended up being made in Spain. I'm just looking for the blog post about this.
And do you have the case to see the factory on back of this board?
I do have the case. But it's somewhere else right now. This was just kind of.
Yeah. I can share the screen. Where's my Zoom window?
Yeah, because I know I took pretty good pictures of
it.
Of course, David's always complaining that I use up all the RAM or I use up all the memory.
Oh, the space. Right. Okay. So Right, Joao
Oh,
said.
cool! You made a post about it. That's cool.
Yep, it was
I
made
didn't know
by
that.
this Spanish company called Microsur, and they were suppliers for Portugal. Yeah, and so here's what you were trying to show, Carl.
Yeah, exactly. See that symbol there? That I guess maybe is the manufacturer.
Yeah, this weird little thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a 330 part number on it, a Timex part number.
Yeah. I've never seen an actual Timex Sinclair 1000 board other than this one.
Me, right, exactly. And that's why I was asking you, is because everything I've seen has been red, and it's just a regular ZX81 board, but in a Timex case and with the right amount of RAM.
Right.
We have everyone send a photograph of their own ZX81 motherboards and try and create some sort of database of this.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Because I was looking at doing that myself, but there's no serial numbers on any of these boards, so I don't know. Because I have a US ZX81, I have a 1000, so I did pull them apart, and I could take, So if someone wants to send me pictures, I can try and put together some sort of collection of of them.
Okay.
Well, I know there's full pictures on the blog, on the IO group, the group's IO, of the front, or of the the component side and the back side. And of course, David just took a snippet of where the modulator is. Yeah. But yeah, that's the only board I've ever seen that actually says Timex Sinclair on it. All the other ones are all only Sinclair, and of course, I mean, there's two issues, right? There's issue 1 boards and the issue 3s. I've never seen an issue 2 board. So I don't know what happened there.
Which ones came to the US?
I think both. It depends on how old it is.
I don't think we got any issue 1 boards because those are English only. The ZX81 came late to the US. It must have been issue 2. So what about the 1000 boards? How many issues of those?
Well, they're both the same board, so that's I have seen 1000s with issue 1 boards in them.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen
issue 1 for the US or issue 1 for the ZX81?
They were TS 1000s.
No, so but inside the board it clearly says that it's Sinclair ZX81 issue 1 board.
Issue 1, right.
Yeah.
So I have seen issue 1 board. Like I said, I don't think there was an issue 2. They just went from 1 to 3. There's whatever reason.
Again, these were 1000 boards or ZX81 boards?
They're
the same
boards inside of
it. I don't understand. I thought the 1000 had 2K of RAM and the 81 had 1K.
Issue 1 and ZX81
well,
1K.
See, the ZX81, even the issue 1s, they had space, right? So this one, you see the big chip that you can't even see it, but to see the 2K chip is taking up the space. But there's also a IC4A here, and underneath this there's IC4B, which is the same 300 mil, right, spacing. So they came. Well, the board is designed to take 1K or 2K, right? That's why you have the LK, the link over here.
Yeah.
So has anybody really documented this well? Or I think, it's been around for 40 years. I know people have talked about this, but is there any good documentation where someone says, hey, here's all the different board forms, A, B, C, D, and so on? I haven't seen that.
I mean,
hang on.
Realistically, there's only the 2 boards, the issue 1s and the issue 3s, and they were shared. There's no difference between a ZX81 machine and a Timex 1000 machine, because the ULAs were 50, 60 hertz selectable, right? So it just depends if they populated R30 or not. And the modulators, they had all the different kinds of French and French and UK and USA and all that stuff was already on the issue 1 boards.
So
even though I'm looking at an issue 3 here, I know the issue 1s had the same thing.
This is an issue 1.
Yep, that's an issue 1.
And it came out of
it looks like David found a forum thing, but the problem with the forums is that's not real documentation.
No, it's not. No, yeah.
Yeah, that one looks like my US CX81.
Well, but here's the interesting thing. So this one has what they're observing here is that it has straight traces. So if you look at the traces coming from the edge connector, for instance, the lines are all straight, and they have sharp corners, right? And then you have this version with what are probably more like hand-drawn traces. Also claims to be an issue 1. There's another one with the, in theory, issue 1, but the curvy traces.
Yeah, and generally the curvy ones are hand laid.
Yeah,
right.
And
They were done by hand. And then the 3s, see if everything's like angled. So that's kind of more maybe like a CAD did that.
And the board, the board itself is a different. So like this one's green, right? It probably has green green solder mask on the other side. This has a red solder mask on the back side.
Well, let me go see if I can go find online these images.
And notice, Tim, on this board it has the 2 RAMs. This is a 1K. Oops.
Right. Sorry.
So yeah, that's where you can
with what I've got. So I'm not a great hardware guy, but at least I can take these images and document and put them in a PDF and have people comment. So,
and that's a good point that David showed there. That I didn't realize that there was curvy ones and there were straight, angled traces on the issue 1 boards.
Yeah.
So that's obviously 2 different. Even though they're issue 1 boards, they're obviously were designed differently.
Yeah, and there's only let's see here, 202 posts, 21 pages worth of posts about this topic.
Yeah.
So clearly there's some contention.
Documenting with pictures to distinguish them, and just so people know what they look like. Just again, I'm not a great hardware guy, but at least I can go and download all the pictures and try and sort out what's what.
Yeah, so you're looking at Rich's there. You can just tell by where the chips are. That's an issue 1, because the issue 3 boards, the ULA and the Z80 are right next to each other, and the RAM and the ROM are further apart or on the other side. That one's an issue 1 board because the ROM's in the middle of the ULA and the Z80. That's how the issue 1s are made.
Okay.
All right.
Gustavo posted a picture. What is
I can always post it and have you guys comment on it.
No,
just tell me I'm wrong. That's fine.
No, the question is to Carl. I put the picture on the chat. I see the logo. Can you confirm is the same logo that you have in the
Let me share
PCB?
on this. Yeah. If that's the same logo, Gustavo.
Yep.
That's that same.
That's even better logo. That must be a bigger one.
No,
this is
zoomed in.
This is the M397 interface for the FDD system.
Yeah.
So that must have been made in Spain.
Right, at that same
the same PCB factory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no picture of the front. Is there any silk screen on the front?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I have picture on the front if you like.
Okay, yeah, that does look like the same. I mean, like it said, that's a bigger, better emblem than the one on my board because it's smaller, it's tiny. But yeah, see, I can't really read the little things under the M on that one. On your board, you can. Those are actually letters. On this one, they're just so small. It just looks like I don't know. The M kind of was dripping something underneath it.
Yeah, interesting.
It's had a Monster Energy drink.
Yeah, something like that.
Cool. Christian, you asked, are modern boards for ZX81? What? I'm not sure I understand your question, Christian.
Well, let me clarify this. It's I've been looking at boards for like from 10D or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've seen some replacement boards for the Spectrum or the 81. And I was wondering if those are anything worth putting on or even worth documenting or not.
When you say modern boards, are you let's talk about the Spectrum for a second. There's a guy, Don Vindeng, who goes by Superfo also, and he has designed, gosh, I feel like 10 or 15 variations of the Spectrum that don't use a ULA. It uses all discrete TTL chips instead of the ULA. So it's like going backwards in time almost. But what it does is, you can buy the circuit board from him and all of the chips and stuff, and you can assemble your own, modern, say 48K Spectrum or 128K Spectrum or whatever the model is. Is that what you're talking about? Do you think?
Something to that effect.
Okay.
I wish I can pull up an example of one of the examples that I was thinking about.
Because I know most of the stuff that I've seen, there's not like a recreation of the original Spectrum board. I haven't really seen that, right? Where somebody's made a copy, a modern copy of the original board for either the ZX81 or the Spectrum. I haven't really seen that. But like David said, there's people out there for the ZX81, like the ZX81 plus 38 or plus 41, the same thing. It's all discrete parts that put on there. They got rid of the ULA because you can't really get those. And so, but it's the same form factor, so it would fit into the case, right? And same thing with the Spectrum ones. Even though it's got all the logic chips on it, it's still the same form factor as the rubber key Spectrum, so that you could put it into a rubber key case, or the Spectrum Plus, anything that can take that form factor board, right?
Yeah. So all the chips must be surface mounted then.
No,
they're
not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They're meant for, people, because you can't get the ULAs. They're hard to get, right? So that's why they kind of went with the discrete logic, so that you can buy all those parts. But they made them dip so that everybody could, because surface mount, you're gonna have to do a little extra work there for that. But for the dip stuff, both boards for the Spectrum and the ZX81 are all dip.
Is that what the Harlequin is then? Is that what that thing's called? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. It is that. I'm looking for a picture of the recreated ZX81. The
ZX81 plus 38 is what the guy calls it. He actually made a Timex one, which is called the plus 41.
Yeah.
Which is a TS1000 version.
Okay.
There's another one too, Dave. I put a link in the chat too for one of them.
So, all right.
I have.
I just see a black screen.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the ZX81 plus 38, which is a couple of years before the 1000. Oops, wrong window. And you can see it's the ZX81 clone without ULA. There we go.
And he added some stuff. There's a joystick port right on the right side.
Oh, that's right.
He made USB. There's a USB B. Yep. So you don't have to. No regulator in there.
Yep. Upper left-hand corner is a 13 megahertz oscillator that is for part of the video, if I recall correctly. And Adam, all of these parts to the left of the Z80 basically, and below the Z80, all that sort of has to do with the ULA stuff. And you can put 32K of RAM. That chip on the far right is a 32K RAM, and you can put
so the one right next to the one that says ZX81.
Exactly, and the ROM, you can put multiple ROM images in there, and there's a way to select which one gets.
So could you run that? What's the computer that runs Forth?
Jupyter Ace.
Can you run that then? Because it's the same, right? Except for the ROM.
I don't know.
Oh,
I have a TS1000 that runs Forth.
Okay.
What Forth are you running?
Not a regular one that runs Forth. All you need is the ROM image.
Okay.
Just a different ROM.
I need to do that for you, David. I meaning to do that with that external ROM board. I wanted to try. I've got Treeforth, and there's another one that I wanted to try.
Is it H4th or something like that?
Husband Forth? I think that's what the Treeforth is.
It's the other way around. Husband is a copy of Tree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little bit of scandal there. A little bit of oopsie.
But I think those would work. There's one I can't remember the fourth that it is. It came on its own board that you had to put into the ROM socket.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of that fourth. As it wasn't the ASMIC, but maybe it was ASMIC.
I don't know. Oh yeah, you got the Minstrel up, Christian. Yeah, that's another version. This guy, I can't remember what his name is, but he's designed a whole bunch of interesting stuff. And that started out as a ZX80 clone, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it'll do both. You can swap the ROM obviously to do the different ones. I have one of these.
You have a Minstrel. You should.
So is the keyboard there? Is it just each individual key? Is it how does that work?
A micro switch. There's those micro switches.
Ah,
they're not real easy to type on. They're a little bit better than regular ZX81 keyboard, but
yeah, David's laughing like crazy there.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like what Carl's got, you know, a Suntronic, which is really nice to type on.
At least you can tell when you push the button that you've actually pushed a button.
Yeah,
right.
it clicks.
Right, exactly. Yeah, those micro switches are fine. Honestly.
But I've got a ZX80 and 81 too. Let me think.
Okay, while you're looking, Carl, I'm going to talk about our next meeting, which is
I was just going to say that. Yeah,
apparently April 7th. That's the first Monday in April because March 31st falls on a Monday. If you can imagine that. So, that's a few weeks off.
Yeah,
more than two.
This
so
happened
it'll be
before.
9 o'clock.
Well, this is
You're gonna have let me spotlight you.
How do I? Yeah.
Hold it in front of your chest.
Hold it in closer.
Hold it in front of your chest.
Okay. Well,
see, because you pop out, and therefore.
Yeah. But this is the one that I built, and like I said, it's got this is the one that and this is in the forums too. It's got the little snap dome.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I had to buy all the snap domes.
Yeah.
And so I have
that's
5
what those
of these.
Called?
Yeah, they're snap dome switches, and I can't really peel because I've got it.
Okay.
Adhesed down, but then
it looks really nice.
You know, it's and then on the back of it, you can see it's got that little dip switch up there.
Yep.
And so that allows you to change the ROM.
And what's the doodad hanging off the expansion port?
That is a expansion board to make it. I believe. Well, you could turn it on and off. It's got an on and off switch here, a reset button.
Okay.
And ZX80 or ZX81 mode, so you can do that externally instead of having to. There's a switch inside, and I think it changes the expansion bus as well because the ZX80 I think didn't have some signals on it, and the ZX81 did, and so this brings out the ZX81 signal, so you can use ZX81 peripherals with the ZX80.
Carl, what about the case? Is that like 3D printed or something?
Yeah, I had this 3D printed, and then I got the labels from original something that somebody made the labels, and I printed them out and stuck them on here too. So of course the front, you have the ZX.
God, you gotta hold it in front of your chest. There you go.
The stuff, so it almost looks like a ZX80.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is how it came, and then it has the little. The keyboard for the ZX81 is different.
Yeah.
Right. This has the ZX80 keyboard on there.
The blue. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have the ZX81 overlay. It fell off. I don't know where it just fell off somewhere. But anyway, I have that to just overlay it on top of that. And of course, this is no modulator on it, right? So it just goes straight out the composite.
Okay.
So, I was going to, offer these, as a kid, if somebody, because like I said, I bought 5 boards and I made 5 cases.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so at some point, maybe I'll get around to like, hey, if you want to build one, fine. I mean, I got all the chips for everything. But if you want an assembled one, we can do that too. But obviously that's going to cost more because this doesn't take a trivial amount of time to make. Soldering all that stuff.
The only difference is the ROM, or you have any hardware?
Oh, the hardware is different. It's
Well, it's a ZX80/81. So yeah, I don't think anybody really makes an 80 anymore because you might as well combine them both, right? So it has
The
the
81's
NMI.
totally outdated.
It is.
Well,
yeah, 1000's where it's at.
yeah. Well, it does have the NMI, so you can turn on. It does have slow mode in the ZX80 mode, so which you normally wouldn't have gotten, right? Because the NMI circuit wasn't even
in the.
And if you remember Microman, there's a scene in there, or Microman,
the movie,
the documentary, the movie. He talked about that, right? To get rid of that damn flicker on the ZX80, and that's the NMI circuit in the fast slow mode. So, but you can run. I've got 4 ZX80 ROMs in there and 4 ZX81 ROMs in there right now, so you can, it'll run both. And it's just kind of cool to see the fonts, right? The ZX80 fonts are much more blocky.
Let's not go down the font road.
Well, than the ZX81 fonts, right? The ZX81 fonts are more.
Somebody say font.
All right. David, you were going to say something.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to jump in for a second. Okay.
Okay.
I was going to point out that Carl's background, that Suntronics thing, there's one up on eBay right now for $275.
Oh my Lord.
Ouch! Wow.
Ow.
And that's David's keyboard on the bottom. That's the one he made for the 2068.
I gotta fix that. Paul, were you going to jump in?
I'm saying 1 minute warning.
Oh yeah. Yeah. On that note, yeah, Paul's right.
So, well, I have a question about that then, because I'm looking ahead at the calendar. So if it's on the 6th, so the next one we're going to have is really late then, the Sunday one, or the Monday.
No, you know what? It's probably the 20th. It says
right. So that's pretty late, I guess. I don't know. Just seems awfully late.
This is the 16th of March. So theoretically,
the 20th is Easter.
Oh, that's
Sunday.
right. That's right. Okay, we should talk about that real quick. Okay. Do you want to do?
We can't do it early. If we do it a week early, we'll have meetings that are 7 days apart. And if we do it later, then it'll be...
The next meeting, right, is Monday the 31st. Is that correct?
No, it's the first. It's the first Monday of the month, so it's going to be April 7th.
Oh, okay. So that's where the problem is,
and
because
then,
now there's 3 weeks.
And then the third Sunday of the month is Easter, which is the 20th. We can do Adam's correct, and if we did the second Sunday, that would be kind of back to back, almost. That'd just be a week apart.
Well, my suggestion is just do it on the 31st. I mean, it's close enough to April. Yeah, it's not. You're right. It's not the first Monday. But
that's not the problem. The problem is Easter.
Well, that's what I mean. So you can do it on the 31st, and then 2 weeks after that would be the 13th.
No,
so it'll be a week before Easter.
So you mean have 3 meetings in one month?
No, instead of meeting on the 7th, we meet on March 31st.
Yeah.
And then we meet on the 13th, Sunday.
So having 3 meetings in March.
No, he means
technically yes.
Oh,
technically, yes.
So you're splitting a hair by 24 hours.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, I'm just saying it goes because all the stuff that talks about when the meetings are wouldn't. So I don't know who reads that stuff, but they wouldn't be able to attend that meeting unless they.
Well, if we move any meeting, it's going to have that problem.
Yeah, and I mean, David presumably will put something up on the pages that talk about the meetings that says, "Hey, special thing, because of Easter and blah blah blah. These are the meetings for April, essentially."
Yeah,
these are our next meetings or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. If you guys all agree, that's cool.
So which one for March 31st then instead?
We're gonna go March 31st. Yes.
Okay.
And then we're gonna do April 13th.
The 13th, right?
Yes.
And then it'll be 3 weeks. Yeah, then it'll be 3 weeks to get back on schedule, right? Because then it'll be May 5th for the first Monday of the, I don't see us having another one in April, right? So
right. But it'll be Cinco de Mayo. Or as they say
true.
on Arrested Development, Cinco de Cuatro.
Mm. That's when I bought my other truck, my 2016. That'll be 10 years old. Wow.
The day after Star Wars Day.
Yeah, right.
May the 4th be with you. Yes.
I guess that's something, and we don't have any agenda for the next meeting either, right?
No.
Okay.
Nobody's stepped up, and I have not found anybody to come hang out with us. It's short. It's kind of short notice to.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, David.
Thanks,
you all.
guys.
See you.
All right.
In 2 weeks ish.
Yep.
All right.
See you guys.
All right.